So this will be game one in a best-of-3 series, a part of the ESOC Autumn Championship 2018. Actually, it's not the Autumn Championship, excuse me. This is the Second Chance tournament. The Second Chance tournament, of course, being a lower stage bracket. Basically, it's its own tournament, but we allow the players who lost out early in the Autumn Championship to play in their own little bracket. It's not for a prize pool; it's just for fun and a badge for the winner of it. So yeah, we're gonna have a match between EAGLEMUT, spawning in the south of the map, in the color blue, playing as India. In the north of the map, on the other hand, is Geori, playing as the Ottoman in the color red. Looks like a wood start for the Ottoman player, so he's going to be able to get up a TP as well as a house and maybe even a mosque should he choose. A wood start as well, favorable for India.
Yeah, I'm wondering actually if
being able to better.
The Ottomans are going to go for a double TP start. It's something that I like to do when I get the wood start as Ottomans. Looks like he looked at the TP, walked away, looks like he's walking back now and going to go for that TP. We'll see if he goes for the market, the mosque, or second TP, or just saves up his wood.
Judging by Geori's start here, I actually think that he will go with just the one TP. He didn't task those villagers right away to wood. He just tasked them to food, only have one villager gathering the wood. That's actually a really smart play. Because basically, you know, you're always going to get that trade post. So why waste 6 villagers gathering that wood, those crates that are always there, and not gathering food? It's just a waste of time. So I like that he put 5 villagers immediately to gatherable resources rather than the crates.
So EAGLEMUT getting a nice pickup. Of course, he got the wood start, but he's now getting this 85 wood treasure in the middle of the map. I'm wondering if the players found the 90 wood treasure. Looks like it's on EAGLEMUT's side of the map, right over here. Geori, meanwhile, not having quite as good luck with the treasures, but is going to get this 50 wood treasure for free.
A really nice pickup, and I think with that, Geori, I'm not sure what the mosque costs on EP. It might be 100 wood or it might be 150. I know that it was the XP trickle rate from the mosque was slightly buffed. So with that 50 wood, should he gather the remaining 100 wood crate in his base, he would actually be able to get that up. And I'd like to see that, but I don't know. He's a little bit delayed on that. But anyway, EAGLEMUT in the south of the map. Going to switch all of his villagers over to food. Has no villagers gathering on coin right now, so I think he has 13 vills queued up, and that's going to be the last of his villagers that he's going to want to train in colonial discovery age.
Yeah, looks like he is a little bit late on the card, but not too late, getting that distributivism coming in at any moment now. Geori getting the more standard 3 villagers. He does have Silk Road in his deck, but I don't expect him to be sending it at this point. I would have liked to see Geori definitely go for that mosque, but it's not too disastrous if he doesn't go for it. Looks like EAGLEMUT is going to go for this 90 wood treasure. He has found it. Geori hasn't, meanwhile, I don't think, seen it, and is not going to really be able to contest it from the position of his explorer, but maybe he's going to find another nice treasure somewhere on this map.
Standard age 1 things. So actually I think I could go over the history of these players a little bit. So EAGLEMUT, of course the India player in this game, he's actually seed number 8 in the Second Chance tournament. He's a player from the Czech Republic. He's a major. He's ranked PR 28 right now, but his max was a PR 29, but I believe, and his max JP ELO is 2265. He plays primarily India. His likely flex civilizations I would expect to see from him would be Germany, Ottoman, or British. I know that he took out Ottoman in his match versus Bobaboo and won that match very quickly at the 2-minute mark, if I'm not mistaken. He won his placements stage, utilizing just his India and his Ottoman.
Yeah, I recall his match against Bobaboo went really well for him, playing Ottomans and actually going for Silk Road as his first card and winning off of that. It was exciting to see.
However, in the round of 32, he faced Major Dark, and while he was able to showcase probably one of the most entertaining matches, or I don't know if a lot of people would consider it entertaining, it was a match that went 59 minutes, using his Su TPs to defend his base, basically doing a super turtle style with Su, which is practically never seen in competitive games. He did end up losing that game, and did lose the match to Major Dark in the round of 32, 3-0. So that's why we're seeing him here in the Second Chance. But on the other hand, we have Geori. I don't think a lot of people know about Geori or who he quite is. He's actually seed number 57, so he's got quite a low seed, but he is a decent player. He's a player from Ukraine, And similar to EAGLEMUT, he's ranked PR29. He's a major. He has a 2130 max JP ELO, but he also is quite active on Nilla, where I think he's ranked a lieutenant colonel. And he also played Treaty back in the day. He was played it at a reasonable level. But yeah, we can see here Geori going with the forward barracks at the early 4 minutes and 30-second mark. Probably going to see, I'm not sure if we're going to see some aggression here. We can see that, in fact, Geori's stacked up 700 food and 200 coin. Starting off with the 700 wood, so not going to actually go up with an age up like I was kind of, looking at that distribution, I was a bit confused. So he's not going with the 700 coin, not going to go with an age up. I think he's going to commit to some early colonial pressure. EAGLEMUT having built the aggro in his base very defensively.
Yeah, we see Geori does just go for the Janissary queue. Pretty kind of like the standard Ottoman style, where maybe not like the super aggressive one where you send 5 Janissaries first, but standard in that you make a barracks that's pretty far forward, and then you use it to make Janissaries immediately. You got 5 Janissaries in queue. It's not going to be necessarily that easy to pressure EAGLEMUT right now because of this aggro fort. And of course, Sepoys are a pretty good unit, definitely worthy of standing up next to Janissaries. But Geori does establish a little bit of map control off of that right off the bat. Sending now 700 coin to complement the 700 wood. He could go for some sort of stagecoach trading post build, but it is maybe not ideal with only 2 trading posts. He does go for that, but I don't think he's going to be able to stay off just of this trading post economy. It would be really nice if he had a 3rd trading post available to him, but of course that's not the case. So perhaps he'll go for an H3 transition, perhaps he'll go for a mosque. Well, remains to see.
Geori going with, I wouldn't say, I think it's just more a typical play style.
Yeah.
Archetype. He's going with the aggressive build order. He's going with the, excuse me, he's not going with an aggressive build order. In fact, he's sent 700 wood and 700 coin. He's going with an aggressive play style, but he hasn't sacrificed his economy. He's got 2 TP stagecoach in the back of this, and he's pressuring, but he's not sacrificing any of his economy to do so. He's gonna nab maybe a consulate villager. Not going to. In fact, he missed a villager earlier as well. Put it to very low hit points, but it was garrisoned in the TC very aptly by EAGLEMUT. Might pick up one here, but EAGLEMUT on top of it, seeing the Janissaries coming in. Oh, losing one there. The consulate is going to go up, though, which is good for... Ooh, a 2nd villager going down.
Would have been nice, actually, if Geori had just taken the consulate down, because it was almost done completing. And as a result, if you were to destroy it, EAGLEMUT would not get refunded a lot of wood. But Geori, nonetheless, he gets 2 villagers off of it. Good pickup for him. Only loses 1 Janissary there as well. And now he's got 5 more Janissaries and 5 Abyssguns coming in, so this is going to be difficult for EAGLEMUT to handle. You got to be really careful against Abyssguns.
Yeah, those 5 Abyssguns can tear Gurkhas apart. They only take 3 shots to kill a single Gurkha. I think a Gurkha taking maybe probably about 9 or 10 shots to kill an Abyssgun.
It's something like that. Let's see. We got 16 range attack and then 130. Yeah, it would be about 9 shots. And unfortunately, some skirmisher type units have 20 range, and so they're able to handle Abyssguns a little bit better. But Gurkhas are actually the same range as Abyssguns, and so it's very difficult to get good trades against these. You really need to have some sort of cavalry to deal with Abyssguns like this. Looks like a Sepoy came out for EAGLEMUT. He's got the Minutemen as well. This might be his only opportunity to get a good engagement down. Not that many Janissaries left, but there's a lot of Abyssguns.
Minutemen going forward. I like this a lot. He was using them, yeah, he's just pushing them forward a lot. I'd like to see them sponge a little bit of damage, get in closer combat than the Gurkhas are. But it seems like Geori's going to make a nice escape. He did lose a few military units there that I think he would have liked to save, but I think that's all right with him. He's still sitting at a slight military advantage once those Minutemen lose their hit points as well. 5 or 6 Janissaries coming in here. Reinforced, but EAGLEMUT doing a really nice job prodding Geori back.
Yeah, it's always critical to keep your Abyssguns well protected. I think that there's enough Abyssguns now with this extra 5 to reinforce that EAGLEMUT is going to have to pull away from this. The Abyssgun count is looking pretty high. The Janissary count not actually looking quite as high, and as a result, EAGLEMUT does have a little bit of a window here to make something happen with these SOARs that are coming out. Unfortunately, he had to call the Minutemen, and so he's not going to get the Hussars out of the consulate. But nonetheless, I think that just the SOARs, if he gets a good pick, and manages to kill some Janissaries, might have a window here to keep this Abiscon count under control.
So in these situations, you have to be very tentative about how you engage, because the militaries are kind of even. It's swayed a bit more in Geori with these recent batches of units, and I can't actually see any units in queue for EAGLEMUT. So I'm kind of curious as to what he's going to do here. He actually does have the superior economy despite losing those 2 villagers. Him using the distributivism shipment, or not the distributivism, but foreign logging. It's the big trickle in H2. 300 export, I believe he got the villagers with the Ottoman. So he does have a good economy, but he's not really utilizing it quite as well as I would have hoped. Ooh, 10 Tiger Claws coming out, so that's what he invested it into. Putting 500 coin into that 10 Tiger Claw shipment from the colonial age.
Yeah, another really good one, actually.
That gives him...
that
really bolsters his cavalry up.
Yeah. So yeah, okay. I was trying to figure out if Tiger Claws were the kind of like Rajputs, but a little better, or if they were like true cavalry units, which they effectively it seems like they are. And that might be exactly what EAGLEMUT needs to deal with these Abiscons. The Abiscon count is looking really scary, but the Janissary count is a little bit low, and as a result, there is still chances for EAGLEMUT to win with cavalry switches. I don't think he's ever going to be able to take a Gurkha versus Abiscon fight and win it, especially not with the Gurkha count being what it is. But if he's able to make the unit composition or win with unit composition, he will be in a good spot. He's going for a raid actually up here at the top. Missed the villagers just there, but okay, now finding them. And nice little pickup for him there.
Ooh, yeah, using the Force Hours to raid those 2 villagers. Gonna take at least 1 down. Definitely gonna get the 2nd. Oh, maybe not. There are 5 Janissaries coming in. They might get a bit of DPS, but... Oh, nope. Saving the villager, in fact. Really nice for him. EAGLEMUT struggling a bit, having lost that hunt on the awkward side of the Agra Fort, but he does have a safe hunt in the back, or safe at least if it doesn't get raided by, say, 3 Hussars. Though we don't see 3 Huss out on the field for Geori, he sent 5 Janissaries, of course, to defend that raid. An engagement here coming out between the Abiscons and the Gurkha.
We've got Sora coming in and Tiger Claws as well. Not a lot of Janissaries, but maybe enough. The Tiger Claws are on the Janissaries right now, maybe not where they want to be, but the Soar are still getting some good shots off. Gurkha's still alive, not too many Janissaries left, and maybe the Tiger Claws will be able to clean up the remaining Abiscons. Looks like a really close fight, but I think it's actually going to go in EAGLEMUT's favor. I think there's still just a couple of Tiger Claws left, and that's going to be enough for EAGLEMUT to be able to win this one.
Those Tiger Claws really wreaking havoc, putting a lot of the Abiscons into melee mode. And when they get, Abiscons have just such a huge melee attack radius that even when, the units are like maybe, say, 5 meters away, it feels like they're just trying to club them with their guns instead of shooting. Gonna pretty much clean up the entire Abiscon mass of Geori, swinging the military unit population in favor of EAGLEMUT, as well. EAGLEMUT basically has twice the economy. He's building his 2nd stagecoach to match Geori's. Of course, it's not stagecoach upgraded, but when he has twice as the villagers, I don't really think a stagecoach is a big difference when you both have 2 trade posts.
Right. Yeah, Abiscons are an interesting unit because they're incredibly powerful when they're standing at range and firing against the things that they're good at firing against, which is basically heavy infantry, but also ranged infantry. But against cavalry, they're extremely hard to use. Even against hand infantry, they can be hard to manage because they go into melee mode all the time when you don't want them to be, and they are so weak against cavalry and they die so quickly that you have to be very careful about protecting them. You always have to have more Janissaries than you have Abiscons to make sure that you're never getting caught out with a bunch of Abiscons against a bunch of Cav, and that's kind of what happened. Geori had enough Janissaries to make it not a complete disaster for him, and so I think he's still in this game to an extent. But I do think that he maybe overproduced on Abiscon a little bit.
EAGLEMUT's hunt's a little exposed over here, but Geori not raiding yet, so I don't think EAGLEMUT's too concerned. At the end of the day, it's not too long of a walk to the TC. He might lose a villager or 2 if it were to get raided, but again, with such an economic lead as he has right now, it's not the biggest of his concerns, and he does have this nice hunt tucked between his Agra and his dock, which have huge line of sight, so those are pretty much unraidable, especially with his current military momentum advantage.
Nice also to see EAGLEMUT just throw the stock up. It doesn't look like he's going to go for a very heavy water commitment. I don't think he even has water cards in his deck. No, he does not. But just adding a little bit of water to add a few fishing boats, supplement this economy. I think it's a nice little like trick, or not more of a technique that players can go for to supplement their economy a little bit without having to commit too heavily.
Especially having both of those wood trickles, you know, India can stack up wood and not really know how to spend it quite often. And I think a lot of this game we saw EAGLEMUT sitting with like 500 wood in his bank, not really knowing how to utilize it. But yeah, throwing up the dock, it's gonna, you know, he doesn't need to use it right now, but at the end of the day, when he has the macro to be able to do it,
right?
There's no, it's just free real estate basically.
Yeah, a few Aegis guns trying to take some shots against these Gurkha. Didn't quite work. I think it actually was going more in the Gurkha's favor. And some of these Aegis guns are getting a little bit low on hit points. So you have to be aware that maybe the next fight that Geori takes won't go as well as he's expecting if he's not aware of how many hit points these Aegis guns have. Still, the SOAR, or the seaport count isn't that high, and there's actually a lot of Hussars here for now for Geori. Actually, there are some reinforcing Zambaraks, and that might be what EAGLEMUT needs. Getting some shots down. The Zambaraks weren't quite in the position they wanted to be in, but now it looks like they're doing what they need to do. A few Hussars left, but all of them are going to pretty much be going down. I think there's still enough Gurkha and Seaboy left, and all these Aegis guns are kind of next, very close, and they might actually just die if they get into melee. But a few of them we do see in melee. A nice stop coming out from the EAGLEMUT's explorers that are called Mahout Lanterns, but aren't actually Mahout Lanterns, they're more of elephants. But yes, Geori calls GG from that position.
You know, I was really liking how Geori was getting that engagement, getting his units close, but it actually wasn't enough, especially with those two Indian Brahmin coming in, having so full HP. They're just such great damage sponge, as well as the Sepoy. When they're in close combat, they have high DPS too. The NS areas, they're a bit nerfed on EP. I think they have a little bit less attack and a little bit less hit points. They cost a little bit less resources, but, you know, even still.
We can see one of the fights for Geori just goes awfully. Around 11 minutes into the game, he's sitting at 63 military population, ends up going down to 10. Whereas EAGLEMUT loses maybe 10, 15 units over the course of this fight. So great fight.
Yeah, that was the engagement.
Yeah, that's a Tiger Claw engagement. Yeah, that's kind of what turned the game in EAGLEMUT's favor.
The Tiger Claw is also deflating EAGLEMUT's military population a little bit. He basically had 10 more units there than is displayed in the graphs. But yeah, just taking that so decisively. Oh my gosh. The Sour is getting... I mean, really, that was like the Tiger Claws putting in so much work, killing off so many of the Obus guns, putting them in melee. They weren't able to DPS down the Tiger Claws fast enough. The Janissaries at that point trying to deal with the Sours that came in from the side. Basically cornering Geori's army and taking a decisive victory. And from that point on, EAGLEMUT was in the lead.
So EAGLEMUT taking this series, or sorry, not the series, but taking the game, the series with a lead 1-0. That's roughly what I was trying to say. So it's a best of 3. Geori still has an opportunity to come back, and I think he will be able to. Yeah, he'll be able to put up a good fight at least.
First, so Geori will get the opportunity to counterpick and maybe swing it in his favor that way.
So the next map, I believe you were saying it's Hudson Bay, and then after that we might go into High Plains.
So in terms of Hudson Bay, I might expect Germany from EAGLEMUT here, but he's also played Ottoman on this map before, so that's definitely in his cards as well.
I would be not surprised if EAGLEMUT went for the Ottomans. I think he's done it twice on this map before, in the times we've seen him in these tournaments. That is to say, Autumn Tournament. And so I wouldn't be surprised to see Ottomans come out. But yeah, he could do, you know, you can do whatever you want in Hudson Bay. So I could see EAGLEMUT to go for a lot of different things.
Ottomans is a good choice. You know, they're just like an agnostic civilization that's kind of hard to counter-pick. Germany, you know, you have like maybe Geori wants to take out India. It may not be in his Civ pool necessarily, but India is something that does very well against Germany nowadays on the EP, especially on something like Hudson Bay. So I think Ottoman, on the other hand, is kind of a good agnostic pick. It's hard to lock a civilization into, or hard to counterpick, is what I'm trying to say. And even after this game, you know, the civs are going to reset. So should it go to High Plains, EAGLEMUT, of course, can pick Ottoman again. He can also pick his India civilization, should he so choose. EAGLEMUT saying he's thinking right now. Again, I would expect the Germany or the Ottoman. Yeah. British is also a civilization that EAGLEMUT plays, but while that's a good civilization on Hudson Bay, I don't think it's his first choice.
I think it's very likely that if this goes to Game 3 that EAGLEMUT will just play the Indians again on High Plains, even if it's not necessarily a perfect civilization for that map. It's his favorite civilization to play. Here,
if it does, go ahead.
Yeah, here I'm agreeing that it's probably going to be the Ottomans, probably if not then the Germans, and then maybe the British from there. If he doesn't go with that,
yeah, what I would expect from Geori might be his French. He does play that as well as Russia, I believe. But Russia on Great Plains, on Hudson Bay into Ottoman or Germany might not be the best choice. Those being a little bit unfavorable. On Hudson Bay, it's got some awkward chokes. You know, having the water, it can be a boon to Russia. Russia having being the more water-oriented civilization than Germany, they can kind of maybe abuse that factor. I'm not sure if that's in Geori's strategy repertoire, but I would expect maybe French coming out here. He's also played Dutch in tournament matches, and Dutch always a good pick.
We'll wait a little bit longer for you. I'm going to really quickly leave and rejoin this call just to quickly fix something. So I'm back.
That was quick.
Yeah. And just sometimes on Discord you see that like RTC disconnected thing, and like even though people can hear you, like it's big red letters, and you say you know, don't like red letters. I like the letters to all be green to say voice connected, and I have no problems. And that's currently what it is set to, but there's RTC disconnected for a bit.
Yeah, nothing bad in refreshing the old call. The connection, I'd say. So, the winner of this match will actually move on to the round of 32. And in the round of 32, they're going to play against Sargassian. I'm not quite sure how to say his name. It's one of those two. I know he gets a little bit anal about people missaying his name.
I usually...
and then after that, in the round of 16...
Oh, yeah, I'm Turk in the round of 16.
The round of 16,
yeah.
Absolutely. We did see I'm Turk winning his match against Lekastet a little bit earlier today. I think, yeah, Duck, you were casting that.
I was, yes. Interesting series. It was one where Lekastet looked really good in a couple of places, but I'm Turk eventually came back and won the entire series 2-0. Definitely
I remember...
Yeah.
And thinking Lekastet actually had it won, because at one point he had a 30-score lead.
Yeah.
I tabbed out for like maybe 3 minutes, no more than that. And when I came back, Lekastet had lost his entire army, and I'm Turk was in his base.
That's pretty much what happened, yeah. Lekastet was taking a couple of engagements that he couldn't quite get the right angle on with the Hussars, and there were a lot of sepoy, and so every time you like try to go in, he wouldn't kill anything, but he'd lose like 10 Hussars, and then just repeated that a couple times, and eventually lost the game from it. Yeah, I don't know who... So, let's say the winner of this goes on to face Sargassian. I don't know who between the winner of this and Sargassian might win. I think that whoever wins among these three players that I've just said is definitely capable of beating Imturk, but he is one of the stronger players in this tournament.
Sargassian being one of the acolytes of Beautiful, and Beautiful was actually, I think he's a PR35 colonel, and he actually got second place in one of our previous second chance tournaments, so he's definitely got his chops. So I guess being under the tutelage of him, I think he'll improve quickly, and especially if they practice for the next match. We could see Sargassian, in fact, knocking out whichever one person wins this series, Geori or EAGLEMUT.
Wasn't actually beautiful the winner of the second chance tournament? I believe that was the case.
Oh, that might have been true.
Yeah.
I remember he won some close series. I think they were like 4-3, some close matches. But yeah, I think you're totally right. In fact, he's won a second chance tournament.
Yeah, I don't remember who his opponent was in the finals. I can go look that up, actually. I know he eliminated me from that second chance tournament, the one that he ended up winning.
That was spring of 2017, and he did go on to the finals to defeat Tom 4-2.
Right.
It was his match versus Mongo Bilioni that I was thinking of. He went 4-3. He won that, and then of course moved on to the finals and won the entire thing. And so yeah, Sargassian, they are good friends, and I think they could teach each other a thing or two.
Though I'm Turk, I believe, isn't he also one of the disciples of Beautiful? Isn't he?
They're all good friends in that circle. So we may see another, basically, what do you call it? A Balkan Pact. Maybe just winning these tournaments between I'm Turk, Beautiful, and maybe Sargassian in the future. We're going to see EAGLEMUT lock with Dutch. And then Geori counterpicking that with French.
So, not really the civ I expected EAGLEMUT to play, but looks like he is happy to do it. Geori, you were saying that Geori does play French a lot, though. Is that correct?
Yes, I think he has like 80% played French on Nilla. You know, he's a Nilla player. He's very active on there. I think he's ranked Lieutenant Colonel. And 80% of his games are with French. So this is actually his main civilization that he's pulling out.
Let me just do a quick check of the Hudson mines, because we had an issue with the spawns before. Looks like the hunts are relatively good. The mines are a little awkward. We see that Geori's mine is a little further than EAGLEMUT's, and both players are kind of supposed to have an extra mine, it seems, but I'm not quite sure. But it looks like the hunts are... Well, they favor Geori a little bit more. The mine favors EAGLEMUT a little bit more.
The mines, in regards to the mines, they are much more defensible for EAGLEMUT, especially as the Dutch civilization is quite favorable. Yeah. But, you know, everything's spawning, so I'm kind of pressed whether or not to call a recall here, or a rehost. I don't think we should, because, of course, everything's spawning in its place. You got the 2 hunts near the TC, you have the hunt that can be extended for, the hunt in the north, and the 3 mines in their approximate locations.
Okay, yeah, it seems like it's a little close, but I think we can leave it as it is.
Not totally comfortable with it, but you know, everything's spawning, and that's how it should be.
Okay, so let's go. Just quick introduction of the players again. Geori is here on the eastern side of the map, playing the red French, whereas EAGLEMUT, currently leading 1-0 in the series, is playing the blue Dutch on the western side of the map.
And have you updated the score? And
I have updated the score. I have not done that. Alright, everything's under control now.
And we can see both players actually scouting out this 95 wood treasure to the south of the map. I'm looking for... Where is Geori's Explorer? Do you see it?
Oh, yeah, no, it's over here.
To the south.
Yeah, it's hiding.
Yeah, just being a sneaky beaky.
Yeah, I wonder if it was...
But Geori knows that... Actually knows that Geori has scouted that treasure, so he's not going to elect to use his crack shot quite yet on that treasure. Not really wanting to take the damage or potentially lose the treasure should Geori come in to contest it. At that point, you know, he basically he risks losing the treasure and his explorer at the same time. And there we can see both explorers seeing each other. EAGLEMUT using the envoy a little bit lazily, but I think he wants to keep that around in case he needs to use it for melee damage against Geori's scouting units.
Yeah, both players do get the extra scout in this game. French, of course, get the native, whereas Dutch get the envoy. I think in a straight-up fight, the envoy does win. It does have a little bit of extra health, but the native does have extra speed, and as a result, it can be, you know, it can go either way depending on how players play out their age 1. Of course, the native scout also gets to hide with this stealth mode option. I don't know looks like EAGLEMUT is in position to take the treasure if he wanted to, whereas Geori is up here, actually taking a different treasure. It's possible that EAGLEMUT will be able to just start it and go for it, and it looks like that's what he's going to be doing. With this envoy, I think he'll be able to do it in time before Geori is actually able to take this treasure. I assume EAGLEMUT must have waited. He may have scouted this already, I'm not actually sure, and just waited to have Geori take a different treasure. So EAGLEMUT going to be picking up that 95 wood. Nice for him. He can go for a trading post if he wants, but I think it's more likely he'll just go for a somewhat earlier bank than he might otherwise be able to do. Geori, meanwhile, aging up as well, has gone for the market, and most likely I would expect him to go for some sort of cavalry start into Fortress. This is a very classic matchup. It's a matchup we see kind of all the time, and it's been one where the theory has been very well developed.
Well, there have been a few changes to each civilization on EP. I bet this is a matchup that Geori is actually very, very familiar with. You know, French versus Dutch on Nilla, especially on a map like Saguenay. Probably not Geori's first time playing something similar to this.
Definitely, yeah. EAGLEMUT going for that one bank. Doesn't have the resources to get the second just yet, but I would be very surprised if he doesn't go for it as soon as he can. And looks like the 400 wood comes down for him. He actually has a lot of villagers on coin right now. I don't think you need that many villagers on coin to be able to make villagers in queue. Is that correct? I think you only need like 5 or 6.
Yes. I think, did EAGLEMUT have a villager in queue there? I think he was trying to amend for the idle time that he might have had. But yeah, I believe with one bank out, you only need one villager on coin in order to sustain production. Other than that, you need around between 4 and 5 villagers on coin.
I see. Yeah, it looks like EAGLEMUT started redistributing off of coin now, because probably just that second bank is going to go up any moment now. Geori, meanwhile, started with a trading post, starting with a staple, and most likely we'll see the 4 couriers out. Actually, he hasn't shipped. No, he's starting with a different shipment. As his first card in H2. Probably I'm going to go with 700 wood then. And there it is. Geori actually going for the trade line. He's gotten 1 trading post up so far. He's going to get that second. Nice to get all 3 trading posts if you can, certainly. It slows you down a little bit to get your game plan going, but if you get 3 trading posts and stagecoach, then you're going to be in a great position going into the mid-game. EAGLEMUT, meanwhile, has started the second bank. I think he started stable before bank, and as a result, this is coming up a little bit late, but not disastrously so. He does have a stable up now. Probably we'll see a couple units get queued out of it at any moment. Hopefully we'll also see that third bank go up for him shortly. He might be looking to do something else with that wood, but I wouldn't be surprised if he goes for a 3rd or 4th or even 4th bank. And yep, there it goes.
Geori popping out those 5 hussars. It was scouted by EAGLEMUT's envoy, and Geori didn't actually pick up on that envoy that was scouting that, so that envoy is going to very happily continue to roam around Geori's TC and get some scouting information.
So something I actually missed was the Explorer went down for Geori before he could finish up that trading post, and now that actually he's bringing a courier over to finish the trading post up, but actually a lot of damage went down because of the Nutka. So this trading post will go up, but good delay by EAGLEMUT. He does lose the Explorer for it. He does lose one of the Nutka for it, but I think it's worthwhile to keep this trading post from going up for a little bit of time.
We did see Geori actually moving his 5 hussars back. I thought that was they were going to go and target that envoy, or where he might potentially be. But it seems like Geori's not keen to go to EAGLEMUT's base or try to harass. He's just going to keep them around about his base, or rather I should say mid-map, where he has map control. Not pushing out. Waiting to go to Fortress Age, it seems, having almost 1,000 food stacked up, and the 700 coin shipment going to come in.
So Geori did split up his hussars into batches of 3 and 2, but EAGLEMUT only got 4 hussars out. They had a little bit of a meeting, but neither player kind of noticed. and so hussars move past each other.
Geori gonna pick up one villager, and he's scouting out the north of the map, north of EAGLEMUT's base as well. Gonna come down south and maybe be able to pick up 2 villagers.
Yeah, looks like he's... okay, he's coming back. And yeah, actually, these aren't in a great position now. I think at least one of these villagers are going to go down, maybe both of them.
Looks like both are going to go down. I wonder if... Oh, EAGLEMUT does notice it, but I think it may be too late.
Yeah, this is a close one, but I'm going to go with, yeah, this villager not living. Has to be a bit careful now. He has other villagers in the danger zone. Pulling them all off in time, good.
EAGLEMUT sitting on an awkward distribution, still missing 300 food in order to get that age up, while on the other hand, Geori is actually already in Fortress Age right now.
Yeah, pushing those villagers off of the food for a little bit was actually really effective for Geori. It's always frustrating when you're just short of the food you need to age up and then you're getting harassed in your base, and that's kind of what Geori ended up doing, whether he planned to do it or not. Looks like, yeah, Geori, he's going to be able to send some cards up early in. He's got this trading post line. He got a few villagers killed. I think he's in a very nice lead at the beginning of this, at the beginning of the Fortress stage.
Very soon here, I'd expect to see 1,000 wood pop out for Geori. He knows that EAGLEMUT is under pressure. He's not pushing out. He did see the 4 husks, but they weren't tasked aggressively. So he knows EAGLEMUT probably isn't going for a colonial build order. He's a bit slow on the age up. So I think Geori's going to feel safe to put up that 1,000 wood, maybe convert it into a town center. He's actually getting that aggressive barracks towards mid-map, going to help defend or reinforce his units at mid-map and defend these trade posts.
Yeah, 5 Dragoons coming out for him as well. So he's going to still be able to win this military engagement for a while until EAGLEMUT's really able to age up. A couple more villagers might go down here for EAGLEMUT, and with these 5 Dragoons backing up the hussars, I think that Geori is going to be happy to take any fight that happens. Dragoons coming in, EAGLEMUT might try to call Minutemen here, and it might be what he needs to be able to not lose too many hussars out of this engagement. Looks like 1 hussar goes down for Geori, but I think most of the hussars for EAGLEMUT are going to go down as well. I think EAGLEMUT's hesitant to call Minutemen. I do agree with that decision in retrospect, because it's not actually going to do that much against the units. They're just going to be able to run away pretty easily.
I don't think Geori really cares too much if these hussars of his live or die.
Right.
On the other hand, EAGLEMUT basically just running his hussars all around his base, not doing any DPS. You could argue that because they were running around, they were kind of stalling their death, and so that got in more TC fire damage. But I would have preferred to have seen, I think I would have preferred to have seen those hussars just engage, try to get a bit more damage on those hussars that were out on the field, and do it that way. But EAGLEMUT popping out his Reuter shipment, as well as 5 Reuters from his base and 5 skirmishers, so he's going to be able to hold off Geori's little bit of aggression in his base, but he still has his villagers pent up in his TC. He does have food production as well as 4 banks, so he's going to have some steady production, of course, getting out the additional 5 skirmishers here, but 5 skirmishers and Minutemen being called. That will actually, especially with TC fire, it's going to push off Geori's skirmisher mass.
Yeah, Geori actually had to be a little bit careful there, because the Reuter count was enough to just overwhelm the skirmishers. He is pulling back. Maybe EAGLEMUT could be a little bit more aggressive about taking these down. Geori has a few units over here, some skirmishers, some dragoons that aren't really actually in that fight. Looks like a couple of them are pulling back. I wonder if it's just a guard. There's actually not any raiding going down for EAGLEMUT just yet. Likely something that will be changing as the game goes on. But yeah, Geori had to be careful not to get blown out there.
Like you said, I would have liked if EAGLEMUT played a bit more aggressively there. He did have maybe 20... He did have 10 skirmishers, the 6 Minutemen, as well as the 20 Reuters about engaging on those 8 skirmishers, and I think he would have basically been able to clean them all up had he just chosen to engage there. But instead electing to go back and just re-engage, refocus, but not panning out very well for him here. Those Minutemen's basically dying for nothing.
Yeah, EAGLEMUT, I think he does have the skirm deficit now. Yeah.
And Geori's definitely going to push that advantage he has in the skirmisher count. About the same. And Geori actually didn't send the 1,000 wood like I had kind of hoped he would. He sent 8 skirmishers, and that did kind of, those 8 skirmishers in transit across the entire map, they didn't actually help that much when Geori was underneath EAGLEMUT's TC with the 5 Hussars and the 5 Dragoons. I really would have liked to have seen 1000 Wood come out for him and maybe, you know, establish a TC there as well as a second barracks. But it's okay. You know, he sent the 8 skirmishers. He's leading on the skirmisher mass, so I'd like to see him push that advantage that he has right now.
Yeah. He does only have the economic lead because of these trading posts. It would have been nice to see him go for like some sort of second TC, and actually, as we say that, he does go for that second TC just now. So I think that's a great decision out of him. He did do 8 skirmisher followed by 7 skirmisher, and that did give him the skirmisher mass advantage. And that maybe is going to just keep him safe while he goes for the second trade town center, while he keeps this trading post economy alive. So possibly the order could have allowed him to sneak 1000 wood into this build. He has gone like 3 unit shipments in a row now. I don't think it's going to go too poorly for him as a result. I think that EAGLEMUT is looking to be on the back foot a little bit. He hasn't really increased his skirmisher count by that much. He's made a few Hussars, but unfortunately the Dragoon count is pretty substantial for Geori as well, so it's not going to really be mattering that much if only a few Hussars are out. EAGLEMUT unfortunately just doesn't have as many things right now, and that's going to be a little bit of a challenge for him to get more of those things.
Popping off 2 skirmishers for free there, not pushing it quite yet, Geori. Still waiting for that right time, he feels like. Sounds it's a bit laggy.
Yeah. I did notice, I think both of the players are lagging, but I guess they would think of us as lagging. You know, I imagine Geori is a European player, and so it's 2 Americans and 2 Europeans. But here's the Hussars going in for the engagement, but the Dragoons are in place. Maybe he shouldn't have pulled back too much. Yeah, Hussars coming in. Skirmishers still well protected. I think that maybe a lot of the Hussars are going to die. Nice positioning with the skirmishers into the forests. Not too many Dragoons going down, and the Hussar count isn't that great for EAGLEMUT right now. I think the skirmishers are alive, and none of them really got lost. And as a result, Geori is going to be happy to take this engagement now.
Yeah, this massive group of Dragoons just pummeling on these Hussars while they can't really get the proper engagement that they wanted. EAGLEMUT skirting them down to the southwest of the map, or southeast, and then trying to bring them back around to get on the Hussars, but Geori doing a very good job focusing them down, getting EAGLEMUT's army fully surrounded. Gonna lose a lot of Dragoons here, but I still think that this engagement is going to go in the favor of Geori.
Yeah, the skirmisher count for EAGLEMUT was maybe a little bit too high for Geori to really want to go for this sort of Dragoon, kind of putting all the Dragoons in range of the skirmishers. The skirmisher count for Geori, meanwhile, wasn't actually as high as I was expecting it to be. And as a result, maybe this fight didn't go as well for Geori as I think it could have. But nonetheless, he won the fight, and he's got these 5 careers coming back, and he's up in the economic population. So if he's taking a trade that he doesn't lose, then he's happy to do it. If he's taking a trade that he's winning by a bit, which he did in this case, he's extremely happy. And I think with these 5 careers, the remaining skirmishers are going to be cleaned up, and that's actually kind of expensive for EAGLEMUT.
I think these 5 cursors are just going to clean everything up, especially with those villagers exposed there. While that engagement did kind of go about even for both players, you have to look at the economies for both of them as well. In terms of economic unit population, they're about the same, but with those 3 trade posts, that just blasts Geori ahead. And yeah, with these 3 cuirassiers, they're just going to clean up everything, and again, swing it in the favor of Geori.
Yeah, a lot of the Reuters, they were doing a lot of damage. They got a lot of the careers down, but there's still 3 left after kind of the fight settled, and even though most of them are now dead, and there's only 1 left, it's got full health. A lot of the Reuters died. Not many skirmishers left either, and EAGLEMUT lost a lot of villagers in that fight. About 8 or 9 villagers going down for him. And so now Geori finds himself in the commanding lead. He's got 41 population to 33 for EAGLEMUT, but he has these 3 trading posts, and each one of them works out to about 4 villagers for Geori. So the actual numbers are closer to 53 to 33, a 20 villager lead in favor of Geori. He's looking to find himself in a great position.
5 Hussars going to come out, and they're getting a nice engagement on these skirmishers connecting, but with the 5 Dragoons and the Cuirassier to sponge some damage here as well, I don't know that they're going to accomplish too much. They killed maybe 3 or 4 skirmishers, maybe a bit more than that as well, getting some DPS on the Dragoons.
Yeah, unfortunately though,
but the Cuirassier
yeah. EAGLEMUT moves the skirmishers into position to help out with this fight, but the single queer is enough to deal with all those skirmishers.
Certainly picking up basically 4 or 5 skirmishers there, as well as getting a Reuter in an exposed position to where it could be gunned down. So for 300 resources, he basically killed 600 or 700 there.
Yeah, nice for him. Now he's got actually 3 town centers, and so he doesn't. Okay, he has 3 CDPs in queue now. Looked like for a bit, yeah, he wasn't getting full production out of them, but now he'll be able to produce and outstrip EAGLEMUT's economy pretty heavily for the remainder of the game. Unfortunately, EAGLEMUT only has that single town center. Doesn't really have an opportunity to make a new town center either. He's kind of just holding on. He's devoting all of his resources just to make enough units to keep up in these engagements.
3 TP Stagecoach staying uncontested for over 10 minutes. This puts Geori at such an economic advantage, especially picking up that 9-villager raid. But even so, even if those 9 villagers had lived and were able to gather, Geori would just be punching ahead with, of course, as you say, the 3-town center boom now. And, you know, most of the military engagements going up even or roughly in Geori's favor.
Yeah. Looked like EAGLEMUT was trying to do what he probably should be doing to get back into the game, trying to go for these raids, but didn't really find anything. Actually going to be losing a couple of the Hussar to Geori's Dragoons. He is getting some progress done, taking down one of these trading posts, and not actually that many skirmishers for Geori to deal with this. I think this Hussar is going to be doing a lot of damage. So he's going to get this trading post. He's doing what he needs to do to come back into the game, but it is going to be an uphill battle for him.
Said we see an 8 Cuirassier reinforcing batch, and I think that's going to crush everything here that EAGLEMUT has. Is dead. There's nothing left to protect these skirmishers of EAGLEMUT's. Just 5 Reuters, and I don't think they can accomplish much against such a overwhelming mass of Cuirassier.
Yeah, a few more Hussars coming in, but I think I agree that there's too many queers, not enough Reuters, a lot of skirms, but they're all going to die. And pretty good army for Geori to back up the queer pop. A few more
You
Reuters.
look at the score deficit here. I suppose I wouldn't be surprised to see EAGLEMUT calling game soon.
Yeah, and he goes for it.
Yeah, there we are. And that will actually tie up the series 1-1. We will be moving on to a game 3, and that'll be on High Plains, the deciding match in this series.
I think a lot of that stemmed from Geori's economic lead from the 3 trading posts that EAGLEMUT never really had the ability or opportunity to contest. And then a few good fights that maybe EAGLEMUT, I think, could have taken a couple of better ones. I think he had a few opportunities to make good fights happen, but didn't quite. I guess he never really quite took them. And then the fights that he did take were the ones that went very poorly for him.
Basically, most of the fights in Fortress Age went in Geori's favor, and a lot of that, I think, has to do with how EAGLEMUT handled his Age 1. He popped out 4 Hussars, so he didn't have enough to really engage with Geori's 5 Huss. In addition to that, he lost 2 villagers in the early game, as well as he had his Vils penned up in his TC for quite a long time. And, you know, the final thing, or the mistake that he made was, you know, when he did get belled up, he didn't have enough food to go up to the Fortress Age on par with Geori. Instead, he was idled for quite a long time, and you know, all those mistakes compiled together, as well as, you know, having this 3 TP Stagecoach from minute 7 onwards for Geori. Geori just tumbled ahead, and there wasn't much EAGLEMUT could do.
So the series does go 1-1. Looks like the next map is High Plains. Just waiting for Geori to go into the lobby so that we can ourselves join. Looks like, okay, they're there now. So, Geori, I believe, is now the first pick. And I think EAGLEMUT will go for Indians, but I'm not sure. I think it's still... I mean, okay, how do you feel about Indians on this map, I guess is the first question.
Are you expecting Indians from Geori?
No, from EAGLEMUT.
EAGLEMUT, certainly. I think, he basically has two lethal weapons. Ottoman being a very strong civilization on this high trade post map, being able to take ATP and Stagecoach and,
Yeah.
basically establish mid-map control very early on, especially with their powerful Age 2 units. India, on the other hand, they don't usually go for a Stagecoach oriented build most of the time. But still, they can get that aggro mid-map, pick up a trade post or two of their own, and just assert control and around the map. India just being such a versatile civilization with what they can do. They have a lot of options. So either of those choices, it's hard to say which is better and which is worse. Either way, Geori saying it's so hard, acknowledging locking his civilization first in this map, especially when he doesn't quite have the map pool that's best for this map. It's going to be difficult.
Better civ for this map or my best civ? A question that I think a lot of second chance players have to ask. I think when you're one of the top players, you can kind of play a lot of civs at a roughly equivalent level, and so it's better often to just pick the best civ for the map. Some players, of course, will just do their best civ, even at the very top. I think a lot of top players are able to just pick the civ that suit the map. Once you get into the second chance, it's a little bit more hard to do that. There's a lot of civs that a lot of players just don't have a lot of familiarity with, and some maps are very well suited to certain civs, and so Geori and EAGLEMUT both probably having the same issue here. They don't know if they want to pick the civ that they're most comfortable with in general, or the civ that they think will work for the map. And Geori says Ottomans, but does he pick Ottomans?
Maybe we'll see an Ottoman mirror here.
Here we go. Ottoman mirror would be an interesting one.
EAGLEMUT took game one. I wonder if he will choose to lock in India here as well.
Yeah.
The same matchup that they played in game one. However, High Plains is a much better of a map for Ottoman than it is on Manchuria. Yeah. Especially some of Geori's early game pressure did look like it looked pretty keen.
Yeah, it looks.
So if he were to do the same thing in this game, but with a 5 trade post Stagecoach, I think that would be a much stronger strategy than it is on Manchuria.
I think that's exactly it. Manchuria is an India favored map, and High Plains is an Ottoman favored map, and it looked pretty scary for EAGLEMUT a few times on Manchuria. I think he ended up winning, and he ended up winning it in a convincing fashion, but Abyss guns are always so hard to deal with and so hard to micro against that it's very easy to just lose to Ottomans in ways that are very frustrating, and it's even worse when it's on a map that actually favors them. But EAGLEMUT, he seems confident. He's going for the Indian pick. So we're going to see a repeat of game one, except on High Plains rather than Manchuria.
This is going to be a very, very close game, I think.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if you think that if you're playing India, if you're EAGLEMUT right now, do you try to contest the trade line? Do you try to just steal one out, maybe even two? Or do you just let the Ottomans skip the entire trade line and try to win in some other way?
From what we saw from Geori in game one, he basically lost a huge engagement. He lost all of his Obus gun mass to some Tiger Claws and some Sours. But imagine, should he have had those trade posts earlier and been able to supplement his army with more Janissaries and just get a better position, he would have been in a more commanding position in order to preserve that military mass that he had and escape. So I think a lot of Geori's loss there came down to military mispositioning, which speaks to kind of the evenness of this matchup. So imagine now, of course, this map favoring Ottoman. Basically, what can EAGLEMUT do? I don't think he can do what he did in game one, where he went very economic and was pressured early on. He has to go with something more aggressive and shut down the Ottoman player early on, especially trying to kill that explorer, or at least delay his ability to build the trade posts. I'd prefer to see an aggressive build order from EAGLEMUT.
I think that's fair to say. It looks like Geori just barely missing the trading route pass, but he'll be picking it up next. EAGLEMUT going for the treasures. I don't think he's actually able to meaningfully deal with these trading posts in early age 1, just with his monks alone. I think he's much more content to take the treasure advantage that he's going to get just because this Ottoman explorer has to go start off with that trading post. And EAGLEMUT starting off by taking a treasure. There are a few good treasures on this map. I was taking a look at all of them. I think that this 80 wood that EAGLEMUT is about to find is going to be nice. The only issue is that it's a very difficult one to take for... Oh, okay, yeah, that's actually a really good one, yeah. That one's a lot easier.
Both of these on the south of the map.
Yeah.
Yeah, being very easy for EAGLEMUT to scout, and if he picks up both of these, that's going to massively sway it in his favor.
Yeah, looks like he found the treasure. I don't know if he's going to go for it yet. He is getting up to take this 80 wood instead, possibly. Yeah, it looks like he's sitting around this 80 wood. Fortunately for him, Geori's explorer is all the way on the other side of the map, has no idea about these two powerful treasures. And I don't think the treasures on the western side of the map are actually that great. I mean, there's 60 food, there's a 70 XP, there's a 320 XP that you can't really take. So I think getting onto this right side of the map is really nice. And you know, part of this is because when you're Indians, you have 2 explorers. When you're Ottomans, you only get 1, and it has to start off with a trading post. You get a lot more time to explore the map as India, and you get to find all these nice treasures.
EAGLEMUT gathering a lot of wood here. He's actually just transitioned his villagers over to food. I think he gathered a bit too much wood here. He's actually going to have enough wood to queue up to 15 villagers, which isn't really what India needs here. I would have preferred to have seen him switch over his villas from wood to food a little bit sooner so he could expedite that age up. But with that said, I think he might elect to go with a slower build order, similar to what he did in Game 1.
Yeah. Interestingly, Geori actually, his first card is the 300 wood, so he's definitely going to go for some sort of trading post play here. Doesn't look like his explorer is... Okay, it's moving back to this trading post. He's going to be taking this top trading post, and then maybe he'll go for another trading post somewhere else. I would be surprised if he goes for just 3 trading posts. It might be difficult without ATP to get all 5, and EAGLEMUT may opt to contest one of these trading posts as well. He certainly has the wood and the villagers for it.
You know, Geori being that Nilla player, I think he has a special inclination towards the 300 wood shipment. I'm not quite a fan of it here. I would have preferred to see 3 villagers come out for him, and even with that trade post that he has at mid-map, it's not going to be a long while before he's able to get ATP. Basically, I mean, say Geori were able to send ATP and then build 2 trade posts, that's basically 150 wood saved, so almost half of the 300 wood shipment already. Then imagine he's able to get the rest of the trade posts. Well, it's already a better shipment than 300 wood at this point, because you have to also consider that the trade posts, they get an HP buff as well as a small ranged attack. So I don't really like 300 wood, especially foregoing those early 3 villagers.
Yeah, it might actually work out in EAGLEMUT's favor. We saw EAGLEMUT has put his aggro pretty aggressively. Different from the first game, he's actually putting this very, very aggressively. Geori moved 2 villagers out to put a forward base, but he saw the aggro and is now pulling back. So I think Geori, you know, he's going to be down 3 villagers. He's going to have these 3 trading posts, but Ottomans don't have a lot of unit shipments in H2. He might just get blown out by being a little bit too slow now for EAGLEMUT, who's going to be, looks like he's going to be going pretty aggressive.
The in-base barracks coming from Geori.
Yeah, he wanted to go for the forward one, but he saw the aggro. So, okay,
700 wood popping out. Yeah, I think that's going to get him the remaining 2 trade posts on the map, and probably the stagecoach upgrade as well. He's probably going to train a few Janissaries and waypoint them towards EAGLEMUT's base and maybe try to harass some villagers while stalling him. Basically, EAGLEMUT would be forced to send 5 sepoy or however many units he needs to defend those raids from Geori. And in the meantime of that, imagine Geori being able to get this 5 trade post stagecoach. Basically getting that economy that he needs to supplement his ability to, you know, go into the later stages of the match.
Yeah, EAGLEMUT actually aging up a little bit late, and maybe not too drastically. He does have the aggro up. He is starting with a consulate first, but it is actually maybe a little bit awkwardly placed now. Thank you, by the way, to HLung for the donation. Something about SSMGC, the clan, but I'm not going to be able to read the full donation because we do have some action going down. Losing the consulate getting a little bit of damage down on one of those Janissaries, but overall, I think a trade in Geori's favor. One of the Sepoy, or two of the Sepoys now onto the trading post. I think it's going to be able to take down this trading post successfully. And maybe, does he have Sepoy in Q? He actually has Gurkha on Q. He does have the opportunity to take down a couple of these trading posts, so they're not going to get too much value out of them, but he has to make sure not to let them stay up for too long, because otherwise this game will go in Geori's favor in the long term.
Geori pushing in against these Gurkha. Gonna be able to take off one and lose one of his own. Two, as well as one damaged. Oh, being a little bit lazy there, gonna lose a third, but actually maybe take down another one of those Gurkhas.
Has to be a bit careful. The Gurkhas don't have actually a lot of room to run back, but yeah, they're actually doing a lot, and the Bison actually getting in the way of the Janissaries a little bit. So Consulate is going to go
a bit sloppy by Geori there.
Yeah, a little bit. So he sent 5 great shipments in a row now. 700 gold into 700 food into 600 gold. We don't actually see a lot of units out of him though. He does have Hussars in queue, and that's I guess where a lot of his resources are going to. And I guess he had to just spend a lot of time just getting those stagecoaches and TPs up. But his army isn't looking too big right now. As long as EAGLEMUT's able to get a few more Sepoy to not get blown out by the Cav, EAGLEMUT, I think he'll be in a nice position. He's getting a trading post up. He might get that second trading post up. He might be able to get a third if he takes down the middle one. And overall, he might be able to just win by having control of the TP line that it's going to be hard for Geori to retake.
He did use 2 Sepoys down to the south of the map to kind of harass Geori's Explorer and push him away from the trade post so that he would be able to claim it on his own. And if you can consider India's massive economic advantage, if he's able to take true trade post to Geori's 3, it's basically no big deal. Basically, EAGLEMUT will have twice the economy of the Ottoman player as he did in Game 1. And with that, it's going to be difficult for Geori's just on a very short timer here.
Yeah, but the thing that is going nicely for Geori is that he's got these 8 Hussars. EAGLEMUT has no idea about the Hussar switch that Geori's making. He sent 3 Hussars as a card. He's got more Hussars in queue. He made 5. And EAGLEMUT has been making mostly Sepoy, or sorry, mostly Gurkha. He made another 5 Sepoy there, but he's got Gurkha in queue. So it's possible for EAGLEMUT to just accidentally lose the game. And we can see that actually Geori knows exactly what the unit composition is. This stagecoach is going to go right by and identify everything that EAGLEMUT's got. EAGLEMUT pulling back, but coming back in. He's got to be so careful right now.
We see the 13 Hussar mass. That's going to be very difficult for EAGLEMUT to hold, especially being backed by 20 Janissaries, which are able to DPS down the Sepoys.
Coming out.
He's trying to use a small villager shield. Gonna push away the Hussars for now. Going to go back. And he's getting some nice shots off on these Janissaries, especially these.
I think EAGLEMUT just takes that. I think the Sepoy count was high enough. He didn't really lose any. And the Gurkhas are still online.
Moving them into melee,
like the Rajputs
perfect engagement. Look at the Rajputs here. The Agrifire, the Minutemen, the Villagers doing a bit of sponging. The awkward pathing from the Hussars just cleans that up. Ace. Basically taking down, what, 13 Hussars, 20 Janissaries. That's what? 45 military unit population. And how much did he lose? Not a lot. As well, going to take down that trade post. And
yeah, Geori
that's going to be game from Geori.
Just, I don't know. I thought Geori's position going into that fight looked phenomenal, right? You basically caught your opponent out. They had a mix of Gurkha and Sepoy, and they didn't really have right. The Hussars. There were enough of them to just kind of overwhelm, but with the Minutemen call, with the good positioning by EAGLEMUT, and the Hussars just kind of coming in, but then falling out without really getting the engagement or the angle they wanted. The fight goes drastically in EAGLEMUT's favor, and he ends up winning the game off that.
A crushing victory for EAGLEMUT and a nice way to move him on to the round of 32. He's going to be facing Sargsyan, and the winner of that match will go on to face I Am Turk in the round of 16.